You are listening to the And I Quote podcast, brought to you by Coterie Insurance. And I Quote was on a mission to share the importance of building relationships in the insurance industry. Through conversations with insurance agents and industry leaders, Coterie is bringing you episodes focused on relevant and trending topics.
Welcome to the And I Quote podcast with Coterie Insurance. I'm Ashleigh Burden, the co-host for today, and I'm really excited for today's guest, just to really talk about branding and finding your niche and just really creating your own lane in insurance. So thrilled to welcome our guest. Our guest today is Laura Gruselski. She's a bilingual independent agent out of Washington, but she also serves California as well, and she has a boutique independent agency that's really mission driven. Laura's agency specializes in small business creatives, nonprofits, virtual businesses, educators, and a few more. So, Laura, we'll get into that today. But welcome to the episode, Laura. Happy to have you.
Ashleigh, thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. So, we're going to dig into some great conversation, really talk about your agency, your story, and how you really built a brand that's rooted in community and culture to create a niche focus. So, definitely excited to get into that and also share some insights of what that can mean for our audience. So, just to kick things off, tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got started in insurance and what brought you to start your own agency.
Yeah, so I actually started in insurance 16 years ago, a local office in Southern California where I lived at the time. They were looking for someone that was bilingual to cover while her sales rep was in maternity leave. So my friend worked there and I went and was a fast learner. I really enjoyed it. And she ended up, the agent there ended up hiring me. And I worked there until my husband and I moved out of state. Gosh, maybe like 8 years ago? And then I worked a little bit with a captive agent out in South Carolina for a few months, but, when you've been with someone for so long, you're so used to the way they run their office, and I just couldn't. She was newer, and I had come from an agent that was, like, 20 plus years in, so it didn't work out, and then when we moved to Washington about 4 years ago, I decided to start my own agency.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. That's definitely a huge leap that you've been really successful. So, just thinking about that, starting your own agency, kind of, thinking through that process, but then also the branding aspect. What went into that, establishing the branding and then even the decision to serve, more underrepresented communities?
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, I'm first generation Chicana. My mom immigrated to the US when she was 10 years old. My dad, I mean, he's a border town kid, so he crossed back and forth. But honestly, at year 3 of my business, I was kind of feeling stuck and I kind of felt like I wasn't representing myself. I was more
Mhm.
corporate, and that's definitely not me. I'm more chill, like, so that's when I decided to talk to a branding person about kind of finding who I was. And during that process was where I really wanted to focus on helping other first gen minorities like myself that maybe are starting out on their building their empire and being able to focus on what truly it means to have coverage, not just bind and go, but like educate them.
That's important. That's huge, and I love that that's something that you focus on. And you shared something really key in there that I hope our audience really catches on of like kind of merging your, maybe your business interests with your personal self, your true self, right? And I think that's something that really shines through, in your branding and your website, everything. And I think that's awesome that you really took the time to think about that strategically, right? Like how can I, kind of merge who I am with who what I want my business to be and who I want to serve. So I think that's awesome, and you've done a great job at it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been I mean, it makes me so happy I mean, I am a virtual boutique agency, so I know almost all my clients. I know what's going on with their businesses, and I love that aspect of it. Whether I'm following them on Instagram or I've been invited to an event and I can go
Hmm.
and attend, I like being their ride or die, not just
Yeah.
writing their policy, but being there for them. And so that's been making it almost doesn't feel like a job anymore. It just feels like I'm just living my life and I'm loving every minute of it.
That's incredible. You light up when you talk about it. So that's how I can tell. It's authentic and just amazing for you. So that's awesome. And really truly like being an advocate too, right, for your clients, which I think is great. Like you said, whether it's attending their events or just knowing what's going on with their businesses. So that truly is awesome. So really thinking about that, positioning your agency as boutique, community centric, how did you kind of when you think about business types, so like, whether it's beauty pros, mobile services, things like that, like how did you kind of narrow down and focus on some target niche segments?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually, as a home based business myself, I realized going into it, I mean, I already had the insurance background. So I knew like what wouldn't be covered, what could be covered, what I needed. But then what I noticed is as I was networking more and there were other people that were either side hustlers or just starting out, didn't know what they
Yeah.
need. And I noticed that they were either overwhelmed because they were like, "Oh, well, I don't need it yet," or they were just like, "It's just too much. I just want what I need and get it over with." And for me, that was like a big no-no. I wanted to make sure that I educated each and every client. And so that's why my focus was like the virtual space, like creatives. I noticed that there was a lack of that, especially with different carriers. And I also love the beauty industry. I have a few friends in Southern California that either own salons or have been in that field for a long time. And a lot of them didn't know that some of their maybe booth renters didn't have the proper insurance. So that was a big thing for me. I wanted to make sure I was able to educate not only the salon owner, but the booth renter as well.
Yeah.
So that's been amazing. And we've been leading workshops virtually and in person in Washington. And that's been honestly one of my favorite things to do. I partnered up with a nail school here in my area, and now every 17 weeks, I'll be going and teaching them the commercial insurance basics. And just listening to those questions, I was just like, oh my gosh, they're actually enjoying it versus being like, I don't know. Yeah, that's been really great.
That's incredible. I love that. Oh, that's awesome. That's something that you do. And then thinking through like your brand and your voice and everything, like how do you ensure, that you're branding from every aspect, every touch point, from your website to how you interact with clients? How do you ensure that that all, reflects your brand identity?
When I first got all of my branding information from my brand strategist, she was very thorough and made a point to also include things like this is what your brand voice should sound like.
Mhm.
We want to hear words like this, that, and not this and that.
Uh-huh.
So I was really big on trying my best to not have jargon in there.
Yeah.
And so, the way I talk, I'm from Southern California, I'm bilingual, there's a lot of Spanglish in there. And so I just make sure that it's reflected that way. And with a little bit of help from ChatGPT, honestly, like you just plug it all in there. And my brand strategist is now becoming an amazing AI person. And so she's been teaching me also ways to incorporate that in there. And I've noticed that, AI is a great tool to use, especially when I will say some of the things I want to say do come out more like an insurance professional versus your homegirl.
I love that you mentioned AI because, right, it's a buzzword. We hear it everywhere. But specifically in the insurance industry, I think there is, a little bit of apprehension to adopt using it, or I'm not quite sure which ways to use it. Then also to your point of like jargon, right? Like I think that's the other big piece. I would say in the insurance space, jargon and acronyms are huge. Just, kind of make it plain, make it simple. I think that's huge. That's something that you focus on. So switching gears a little bit, I want to think about like just the different types of channel and content formats that you've worked. And you talked about this a little bit with the trainings that you mentioned with the nail professionals and everything. But is there anything more specific, whether it's online, offline, that you've done that really kind of has worked really well for you in the past?
Yeah, so I actually started my own hybrid community for business owners, like a networking group. But what I'm doing is I'm hosting monthly mini mentor shops, as I like to call them.
Uh-huh.
Anyone has access to this. Like there's no fee or anything. It's for business owners to come in, and we're going to lead different meetings every month with different topics. We'll start with insurance, but I'm also
Mhm.
bringing in other people in my network that are tax reps, business consultants, branding experts, things like that. So, like that, they're not only getting that information, this is specifically for startups. And so they don't get, they don't get overwhelmed with just insurance information, but I'm going to be bringing them other resources and tools so that they're able to kind of start on the right foot.
That's incredible. I love that sense of community.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been doing that. And the other thing is that I've been partnering up with other minority women that are in other industries, and we're going to be leading workshops together where we come, we bring lunch,
Nice.
we kind of make it like a little party, and we're actually going to host our first one, which is for specifically this one is for beauty professionals,
Nice.
but we're mixing in a lot of networking tools too, because these are all people that either are going to be finishing up beauty school or they're just starting their businesses. So it's going to be a great way to kind of incorporate different things in there and to help them kind of get started on that right foot. So we're doing it virtually and in person.
And really thinking through that, like, how do you find that the initiatives that you're doing, like in the community, help with like referrals and growing your business? Is there a connection there for you?
Yeah, so I will say that it wasn't until about recently, since I started my business 4 years ago, that I did start expanding on how I get leads. But for the most part, for the last 4 years, they've all been word of mouth referrals from my clients, my network, my family. There's other things I'm doing behind the scenes, but for the most part, I've been keeping busy with referrals, which has been amazing.
Yeah, well, that says a lot about, you and the way you're running your agency and just your relationship because obviously they have to have a good experience in order to make the referral in the first place. So that's awesome. I love that. And it's definitely something that we encourage too with Coterie. Like if you're really like, focused in on building those relationships and, again, finding your niche, then that lends itself to having great referrals and just great ongoing relationships with your clients. So that's awesome.
I'm actually happy I found Coterie because I'm able to write so many different types of businesses just with within that carrier, that it's been amazing too, just to kind of see like, oh, okay, cool. And they love it because a lot of, like I said, a lot of my clients are newbies in the business world. So they love the fact that Coterie has that digital space that they can go on and get information too. So that's been really cool to see them interact with that as well.
Awesome. Like you said, with your focus on the virtual space and everything, I think it really lends itself well and merges really well with what we're focused on here at Coterie. So thank you. Thank you for being a great partner of ours for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So thinking about storytelling a little bit, you often share stories with your clients on LinkedIn. How do those stories, like how do those help you build your brand and kind of put that information out there?
That's a great question. So, I believe that those stories help me build myself as an expert. So, they really do help kind of solidify like who I am as an agent. And that's what I really love about sharing stories.
That's awesome. And I think those, when you share real examples, those are the things that really resonate with, again, small business owners, but even other agents, right? Like it helps you, like you said, establish yourself as an expert and then really show that you have that personal touch with your clients that you're serving.
Yeah.
And then thinking through, like, just the authenticity, do you have any challenges that you face when trying to maintain a consistent brand message while scaling and growing your business?
Yeah, I do, especially in my area. I mean, Southern California, that's where I'm from. There's so many first gen Latinos, Latinx community there.
Uh-huh.
And so I found building my business there was a lot easier than here in the Pacific Northwest. I know we're all here and I know that my target demographic is here. They're a little bit spread out, but I'm on the West
Okay.
Coast versus
Okay.
like Central and Eastern Washington. And so
Gotcha.
it's been a little harder. I mean, granted, as long as people, business owners know, like, hey, I'm virtual, first of all. I only do appointments only in person and I let them know ahead of time, like, this is what I do. I still get clients that are not in that target demographic that I love working with, but it does get a little hard because the way I speak is calling to my first
Yeah,
gen
sure.
brothers and sisters. So it's a little
Sure.
difficult.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I definitely think that's something that's probably not a unique experience, but like you said, maybe it's more of a geographical area or just, kind of as you're getting your name out there in your area. But keep going, Laura. You got this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then how do you balance that, right? Like it's kind of, you want to have your authenticity, but like you said, you do have clients sometimes that are outside of the demographic. So is there like a balance that you find that strikes really well for you?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten any complaints yet that like, oh, there's
Yeah.
too much Spanglish in our newsletters or anything. But I know that like my community up here, that even if they're not first gen or Latina community, or any other type of minority, that they love it. Like
Yeah.
they'll be like, well, what does that word mean? It's almost like I'm teaching them. I mean, granted, they're
Yeah. But
not
it's
like big words or anything. It's just
sure.
Spanglish, but
Yeah.
still, like it's been really cool to see that people are interested in learning. Yeah. I like to say that, my brand is rooted in like the way my culture, And
Hmm.
so that's a big thing for me is that that's why I support my clients and support them in any way I can because it's like family and it's family
Yeah.
over anything for me. That's the way I
Hmm.
was raised. That's the way I still live my life. And
Yeah.
I'm going to support them because they're trusting me with their babies, with their business.
Yeah.
So
Truly. Yeah, no, that's huge. And it's really your why, right? Well, so I want to think through like true actionable tips that you would share with our audience for really building or reinforcing your brand, especially if they're just starting out and building their agency.
I would say if you're just starting out, definitely don't niche down, but figure out your why. Your content pillars, do some research on that. What would that look like for you? How you're going to market yourself, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, going to networking events. Really write it down and set up a plan because I feel like when you have that planned out, it's a lot easier. And then once you feel like you're ready, and can invest to bring in that third party brand strategist, then that's the time to like or whether it's rebrand or just go from what you've got.
Hmm.
It's really good to bring that third party in, that outsider to really help you like hone in to where you're going for the next 5 to 10 years.
I think that's a great tip. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. You're welcome.
Yeah. So a couple quick hits. I want to do like a lightning round before we wrap up today's
Okay.
episode. So hopefully this is fun. I haven't done this before, but we're gonna have some fun with it.
Ooh.
So first, what's your favorite branding platform? Whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it might be. What's your favorite branding?
I'm all about the IG. I'm a millennial. So yeah, I'm all about the IG.
Best personal branding win so far.
Okay. I got asked to speak at a panel. There was I think it was a lash camp out here in the area for
Awesome.
lash techs and people that own their own lash bars. And I was asked to speak, and that was really great. I
That's
loved being able to do
incredible.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Congratulations. So on the flip side, thinking of like maybe a lesson learned, what's one brand mistake you might have made and what did you learn from it?
Well, that's a great question because I'm still learning from mistakes. It's a learning process. And one, though, that I will say is I started in personal lines. So I felt like when I started my agency, I wanted to really focus on commercial because, when you do something for so long, you're not being challenged anymore. And I didn't get to
Yeah.
write a lot of commercial in my past life. So I wanted to make sure
Nice.
that I was being challenged and, not bored all the time, so to speak. So I mean, it's not really a mistake. They're still my client, but I didn't do what I typically do, which is like do an audit with them and they're a personal lines client. I don't feel like that's where my passion is anymore.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
need to be better at saying, I don't do that, but I have these amazing referral partners for you.
So, um, last, kind of rapid fire question. What's next for your brand story? I'm really excited about this. What's next?
Got some things in the works.
Okay.
It's definitely growing the online hybrid community that I've got. And eventually, I would love to be a mentor for other minority business owners that want to start an agency, even if
Mhm,
it's a side hustle or, a virtual agency like myself that's just starting to hire out after 4 years.
mhm.
I would love to be someone that they come to. I feel like I never see mentor. I mean, I'm seeing them now more mentors in our space, but I also feel like I'm kind of a different type
Yeah.
of personality that we're not
Sure.
seeing a lot
Yeah.
of. So,
Yeah.
at least not
Hmm.
yet. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to doing something like that in the future.
Awesome. Well, I think you're well on your way there. You've, like I said, a really great story and very authentic. I think that shines through and just everything that you've done and everything we've talked about today. So I'm really excited to see what's next for you. And congratulations on 4 years for your agency. That's
Thank you.
incredible. I always like these because insurance can be one of those industries, especially for a someone, kind of maybe interested in it or thinking about it, and they're not quite sure where to take it. But hearing stories like yours, I think are really inspiring and just really help, them to think about maybe doing something differently, but also being true to themselves.
But
I'm really, really incredibly grateful that you joined the podcast today.
thank you, Ashley. I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
Thank you for listening to the End I Quote podcast, brought to you by Coterie Insurance. Coterie puts insurance agents and brokers first, delivering instant business insurance across the United States. With an innovative quoting platform that delivers accurate pricing and bindable quotes in less than 1 minute, Coterie is making small business insurance effortless. Learn more about Coterie Insurance by visiting our website, located in the show notes.